Hey, Marvin Lindsay, Senior Pastor of First Presbyterian Church. I'm here in my home office, which my family has wonderfully decorated for Christmas. We don't normally get our decorations out until a few days into December, but we decided that with the year that we've had we need a little Christmas right this very minute. So just as soon as Thanksgiving was over, we got the decorations out, and we've got the tree up downstairs, and we've got some lit up houses and things like that. And I'm sure that you are either decorating or will be decorating for the near future. Now, this morning I was at my church office at 16 Hit Street and was reading through last week's At First and reread the reminder that Audra West is creating a video presentation of manger scenes from that belong to members of First Presbyterian Church. She's asking us to take a picture of our manger scenes in our home and send it to her with a little bit of explanation. She's going to turn it into a video to share this Advent and Christmas season, which I think is a wonderful idea. And since we can't gather in ways that we're accustomed to gathering, this is kind of a nice alternative and kind of a way that we can bring each other into our homes and share a little Christmas cheer. So, we have a manger scene at First Presbyterian Church. You may have noticed it Sunday. It was or it was arranged on a little stand, a little table between the communion table and the baptismal font and pitcher. And I want you to take a closer look at this now, though. Don't look at the figures themselves so much as the stand on which they're sitting. Take a look at this. Now, what's interesting about the stand on which they're sitting is there's a little plaque at the bottom, and it's very difficult to read. In fact, I had to use the flashlight on my phone. Is that on? No, that's not on. There you go. I had to use the flashlight on my phone to create a little bit of glare so that I could read this very faint plaque. But basically, what it says is that this little wooden stand is made out of wood, was made out of wood from the log cabin in which the First Presbyterian Church of Columbia, Missouri was established, constituted as a congregation in September of 1828. So think about that. That little stand is at least 192 years old and maybe older than that. And as I thought about just all the history that wood has seen in the last 192 years, I found myself really comforted by that and filled with hope for the future. This congregation has endured so much. This congregation endured the Civil War. And if you're a longtime member, maybe you know the stories about how when bushwhackers, Confederate guerrillas, were in the area, the First Presbyterian Church bell would be rung to warn the residents of the town that the bushwhackers were about and to take precautions. This congregation endured the First World War, the Second World War, the Great Depression in between, also endured the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 and 1919. I think I mentioned this in an At First article I wrote a few months ago, but I examined some old session records at the State Historical Society of Missouri, and the clerk of session in 1919 made a note that there were no worship services at First Presbyterian Church or any church in Boone County throughout the fall and the winter and into the spring of 1919 because the county health department had closed all of the worship services because of the spread of the Spanish flu. So we've also survived a pandemic in the past. We've endured a lot and we have survived a lot. And the congregation, I'm sure, over its 192 years, has had a lot of ups and downs. But we're still here by God's grace and by the power and the protection and the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And so thinking about that and thinking about a variety of things that are coming together, I just began to feel very hopeful and very confident about 2021. We're probably going to get a vaccine in 2021. Some of you who are doctors and nurses, you may get your shots before the end of this year. At least I certainly hope so. And that's going to make a big difference. The pandemic will come to an end. Probably not on a specific date. There's probably going to be some overlap. We're probably going to continue to wear masks while people are getting vaccinated, we're going to return to corporate worship and to group activities at 16 Hit Street, but it's probably not going to be like it was on the first Sunday in March. It's probably going to be different, and we'll kind of gradually ease back into a situation that's like normal. We're going to get a new associate pastor. I'm really excited about John Reinick. I've had the opportunity to meet with him via Zoom and 2 face-to-face meetings when he was here in Columbia. And just reading his personal information form, listening to the testimonies of the Associate Pastor Nominating Committee, and my own personal impressions with him, I'm just really excited about his arrival here. We have some connections, too, between daughters of FPC and John's congregation that he served in Pennsylvania, and they're really excited and happy for us that he's coming here. So I'm really looking forward to learning from him and from imagining what post-pandemic 21st century discipleship looks like. How are we going to be disciples making a difference in the next quarter of a century here at First Presbyterian Church? So I'm really excited, and thinking a little bit about the future in terms of that stand that holds that manger scene. That once upon a time, what was it? We don't know. Was it a chair? Was it a wall stud? Was it a ceiling joist? Was it a pulpit? How was it? Was it a cabinet? What we don't know what it was, but it was repurposed for this use now, to hold this manger scene and to glorify God for sending Jesus Christ to live with us. I think a lot of what we've done in ministry over the last generation is going to be repurposed after the pandemic. I think that we're living in a rapidly secularizing society, and I think that we are living in a society that is becoming more and more dependent on online interactions, online communication, online gatherings. That doesn't mean that in-person gatherings are, going away, but just it means that in the future we're going to be ministering to people and with people who have no faith background, who never were brought to church by their parents, and we're going to have to be connecting with them in forums and in venues and with means like the one that I'm talking and connecting with you right now. So I think a lot of what we've done in the past will continue, but like that, whatever it was, and like that log cabin was repurposed to be a stand for a manger scene in a much larger gathering for corporate worship. I think a lot of what we've done in the past is going to be repurposed for some new use, some new way that we glorify God in a very different situation, and that's okay. In fact, that's the way it ought to be. We know we don't continue to do things as we've always done them. We don't make complete and decisive breaks with the past and just kind of leave everything. Reformed and always being reformed. That's the motto of our particular brand of Christianity. So, Merry Christmas. Send those manger scene pictures into Audra, and take care. God bless.